I was 12. It was springtime, and the air was filled with the moist, earthy smell of soil, just being freed from the snow blanket that had covered it for months. While walking alone to school, I kept getting memories from earlier times, happier times, when I walked with my best friend to school. The long downhill on the public path, filled with more ice than gravel, where we competed on being bravest and slide down on our feet in icy tracks. Or the wooden area where we sometimes could find the early blue anemone spring flowers. There was a small creek going through a culvert below the path, where we, in the winter, very illegally, slid through the culvert on the icy water flow. Once my mother sent my brother to find us. Walking to and back from school should not take more than 25-30 minutes. We were 2 hours late. We made houses in the snow using feet and hands to make a layout of a whole house with rooms and furniture. We crawled on all fours, finding golden crystals, mica, among the gravel. The ladies who stood guard to help us walk the crossing of the busy highway were furious at us for taking so long. And our mothers were equally mad at us for ruining our winter suits. In the winter, we sometimes used our kick sledge, coupling them together and racing downhill, whining from delight and adrenaline. In the summer, we biked on the new bike lane made beside the highway. But all this was over now. I walked alone. This spring morning, with the sun warming my cheeks, I secretly hoped to meet some friends at the crossing below the farm. But I knew that they would not walk with me. I knew why. I could trace it back to one event where I did the wrong thing. My father loved military marches, so I grew up with the steadfast beat of the march. My brother played the tuba in the school band and had a sousaphone, a big marching tuba with a sprout pointing forward above his head. The school band was famous for its drill parades, and in the front there was a platoon of girls in white uniforms, hats with feathers, high white boots, and a baton that they swirled through and caught in perfect union. I loved every aspect of the drill platoon, and my biggest dream in the world was to become one of them. I even had my own baton. But there were rules. The instructor accepted new girls only every 3 years, and I was 1 year too old. I hated the rule. I was deeply disappointed, grieving, but accepted my fate to wear the mustard and brown uniform of the school band, playing a trumpet or clarinet. The shock and utter disbelief, the anger and feeling of fraud I felt when I heard that 2 girls in my class lied about their age, auditioned for the platoon, and was accepted. It's hard to describe, even today, 40 years later. I blew the whistle on them. I told the instructor and asked to be allowed to audition too. I did not want them to suffer or expelled from the platoon. I wanted the same chance to be included. I knew I could do it. I had my own baton and trained for months. But the instructor turned around and confronted the girls, told them what I had said and named me. They were allowed to continue on the platoon. I was not allowed to audition, and they hated me from that moment onwards. One of those girls became my tormentor. As an alpha-type person, she quickly persuaded the other popular girls to join her. It was all so subtle. They would whisper, and the only sound you hear from the whispering is the S. And as my name contains a lot of S sounds, I concluded they were whispering about me. I got angry. That was fun. They would call me names, pick me last for games, make gagging sounds where they were assigned to work with me in class, roll their eyes and make faces when I said something, stop wearing clothes if I showed up with the same sweater. Subtle, small things that made my days worse and worse. But the worst thing was the isolation. I had one best friend. We became friends at the age of 4 and spent most of our time together. We even looked the same with dark blonde hair and green eyes. We walked to school together, and she had her after-school care in the house next door. Her mother worked as a physiotherapist, and my mother worked as a secretary, and they both needed daycare. Regular kindergarten was rare those days, but our neighbor worked as our daycare giver until my mother quit working and became a stay-at-home mom. From the moment we started daycare together, we were inseparable. We fought over a mirror once. I still have the scar. We had a great discussion on what was the most important skill, to be able to read or to be able to tie shoelaces. I taught myself to read when I was 5, but lacked the dexterity to tie laces. She was the opposite. The discussion only ended when I mastered the skill of tying shoelaces and she learned how to read. They knew very well what they did. It was intentional and planned, and they executed their deviousness with gusto. My best friend told me that she could no longer be my friend because if she did, they had threatened to treat her as they were treating me. I grieved for months. My friend would sometimes come by on Sundays and in secret, every time the wound became fresh on Monday, like taking off the scab of a healing wound, making it bleed again. The playtime on Sunday afternoon was exchanged with a cold shoulder and exclusion on Monday morning. As I was ascending from the lowest point of the path where the creek passed under in the culvert to the area where it flattened out a bit, I saw the girls by the crossing below the farm. I could see that they saw me. They put their heads together, giggled and ran, so that I would no longer be able to catch up. It was there, on that path, in the springtime sun, with the moist, earthy smell of soil just being freed from the snow blanket that had covered it for months, that I made my decision. A reader from the age of 5, it's no wonder it was tied to literature. I decided that I was the ugly duckling, and that I would one day come back as the beautiful white swan and be admired by them all. I was 12.